Good morning. Welcome to Monday meeting. Are you expecting, I don't see Rhodes and I do see Gina, but are we waiting for Kathy? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I don't see Rhodes yet, so you might as well.
Good morning, Gina James, Health and Human Services. I think we are on for those financial reports quarterly.
Okay.
So I think October will be, Kathy will join us for those.
I think she mentioned that last week and I just forgot.
It's okay. Well, I came anyways, so.
Yeah.
We did have one item we wanted to talk to the board about. We have an amendment that we've received to our consolidated contract with the Department of Health. The amendment includes a couple of different things. So it's adding the second allocation of the FPHS funding. We received the first half of the allocation, I think in August, and now they've sent the second half. We usually see it in January. I think they've sent it early this year because this will be the year that we do a new contract. This is like a 3-year contract. So okay. I think they've sent it early this year because of that. So it includes that. It includes a small amount for hepatitis B at work. And then it is adding the funding for emergency preparedness and response. So that's a piece I wanted to touch base with the board on. I know we're not refilling that position. And so we wanted to just kind of talk about, we still have this funding that's allocated in the contract. We would use the funding to participate in different planning and coordinating meetings and activities with both the state and the regional level. So it would just be used to reimburse staff time within our capacity to participate and represent Cowlitz at those different conversations and planning activities. So we just wanted to touch base and see if there's any issue with still accepting that funding or if you'd like us to do something different.
Well, I think our decision was just on refilling the position.
Okay.
Some of the work you do with them. I mean, it's probably one of those things you'll reimburse what you can and the rest of it we just don't do anything with.
Right. Whatever we don't spend, we'll just go back to the state. Yeah.
So again, you'll perform the functions within existing staff.
Not all the functions we have been doing, but participate where we can in different planning activities.
Question on Hep B. What does that entail from your department viewpoint?
Yeah, so we work with, it's pretty rare, very rare. We work with, it's specifically with women who are pregnant and they've tested positive for Hep B, then we would work with the mother-to-be to help make sure that it's not going to try to prevent it getting passed to the child, to the unborn baby. So there's specific treatment and vaccination that can help prevent it from going to from the mother to the baby. So that's the.
So I'm still curious. So I'm a pregnant lady and I test positive for Hep B. That's my doctor who figured out that I've got Hep B, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, my doctor is the one that talks to me and says, blah, 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 blah. Where does HHS enter in that chain?
So similar to other cases, so it would get reported to as like notifiable to us. So we would be aware. We would follow up with that mother and maybe do some light case management to the doctor I hope has that conversation in the moment that they do that, but they don't always have the ability to do some follow-up and and have additional conversations. So that's would be where we could help with that and maybe meet with the mother and have more follow-up conversation. I see Carol popping on too.
So Gina, the cases are reported by the doctor's offices,
Right.
but low-income families usually don't go to doctors. What other ways is Hep C or hepatitis reported other than doctor? I mean, if you don't go to the doctors, you don't find out about it, so.
Right. I mean, that's primarily the way, if they're in the hospital for some reason or have visited their doctor's office.
Wait. This is a rabbit hole. If you don't know you have Hep B unless you're in the hands of some health professional, and the health professional, regardless how he gets paid, is going to report to you
Right.
the problem. So I still don't know then. So you deal with indigent people only for Hep B follow-up?
No.
Hmm.
No, it's not just low. No, it's not just low income individuals.
I don't understand where the value added is then.
It's just additional follow-up to encourage that testing, additional conversations with primary care about how they can prevent the spread of it from it going from mother to baby. I don't know, Carol, if you have anything else to add.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yes, so we actually already do this work regardless of whether we get this funding or not. They're just offering us the funding to help pay for what we do that's already mandated. Even though it seems like a primary care or an OBGYN would understand perihepatitis B, so hepatitis in a pregnant woman, they don't always understand it or know exactly how to treat it or how to prevent it in the newborn because it's so rare. We see maybe one a year, occasionally two, but it's pretty unusual, and we end up giving a lot of technical assistance to the healthcare provider, and then making sure that there's work actually after the baby is born that has to be done to follow up to make sure certain medications are being taken and the baby is not still at risk, or the mother gets lost to follow up. So we do a lot more chasing around, if you will, of the mother and the baby after the baby is born than a physician might do. Because sometimes, once the baby's born, some folks don't always follow up with primary care like they should. And it's our role, it's mandated that we follow that mom and the baby for about, I think it's a year, to make sure that the baby's being treated if the baby ends up with hepatitis. The goal is to prevent it, but sometimes that doesn't happen because they get late prenatal care.
Who mandates this? You said you're mandated?
It's one of our notifiable conditions, and we're required to follow through with pregnant moms and babies that are perihepatitis B. So if a mom has hepatitis B, part of our mandate is to follow that mom through.
So you can show me an RCW that says that, or?
I think I can. I'll have to double check, but it is something that is required to do for the health of the mom and the baby.
Okay, no, they're not, it's just confuses me. It seems, how many dollars are we talking about with this?
500.
They're only giving us $500 to go for the work, but we do more work than that. But I think they allocated this based on 2 years ago's one case or something like that. But it's just money to go towards the work that we already do.
Boy, $500 item just doesn't seem worth the discussion.
The state's being so helpful in giving us $500.
I know this sounds awful to say that, but it's.
I suppose there's a positive side to it. It's only $500 because it's not a significant problem.
So
It's
do
not
we,
spreading anyway.
yeah, do we have a Hep A or a Hep C problem? Are you going to come back next year with the Hep D?
Hep D, how many letters can we do?
Actually, I think there is like hepatitis D and E. I don't know anything about those, but I don't know anything about those. But hepatitis B is the big one, I think, that is dangerous for babies.
And just for my own curiosity, then, if I deliver a baby with Hep B, what's the prognosis if left unattended for
Mm,
Hep B?
That's
a great
probably a
question.
really good Dr. Krager question. And you'll see him tomorrow at the Board of Health. I don't know all the
Yeah,
clinical
but tomorrow is a
implications.
whole new day. I'll not remember this.
Well,
I
I
don't
would
know
think-
the clinical pieces very well.
I'll have Kelly, I said, can you replay that tape from yesterday for Commissioner
Thank you.
Mortensen?
Yeah,
Well, that kind of raises a process question. We have a Board of Health,
Mm.
but you've come to us with a request for spending. But you haven't informed the Board of Health for their advice. I would think this is, since we have this independent Board of Health, I would think the process should be changed so that they get informed when these things happen, so that they're aware of the different programs that we're being asked to fund and have that discussion with them because, but I mean, we haven't decided to do that. We ultimately have the responsibility to pass, the
Mhm.
budget, and the spending is our responsibility, but
Mhm.
I would think that would certainly honor the Board of Health's responsibility to provide oversight in terms of the medical doctor and the policies.
that's a good discussion. I don't know where it would fall, but in this case, I mean, I look at the Board of Health being one step higher than this, and that accordingly to the information we got, it's an RCW, it's a mandate, and I figure that the Board of Health can't tell you something that would change that activity that you're involved in, but they might communicate with the legislature. So it is something to be worked out. It'll be worked out, I think, like things are worked out in the courts by actual cases that set the case law.
Just a synopsis so I understand we're getting the second half of a contract that's still in, probably the last year of a contract. Included in that is still the emergency preparedness, though we haven't filled that position. You still have some things you do with it.
Mhm.
And they've added $500 for this Hep B.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, the way I see the emergency preparedness, and thank you for the synopsis, is there's still stuff you will do,
Mhm.
just the current staff will absorb it in some way.
In some way, yes. And it'll be more, more limited capacity than what we've been able to do.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we'd still like to be at the table. Yeah.
And presumably that helps, the lack of the staff member helps you prioritize what you have to do, which is always an issue. It's like, we do a lot that we don't have to do, or do we? That kind of thing.
So we'll have,
We're good with that, yeah.
okay, so we'll have that amendment maybe next week or the week after on the agenda. And I noticed I'm on Health and Human Services is on the agenda item review piece as well, but we don't have anything on the agenda tomorrow. Besides, I mean, we'll be here for Board of Health, but
Have you talked to the chairman of the Board of Health and you've got a presentation or anything you're doing?
yeah, we're going to revisit that list of potential priority areas.
good.
Just have
Okay.
some more discussion on that.
The latter part is the interesting part, the discussion. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know we'll have new members so that we might want to take some more time. So that's, yeah, totally fine. Yeah. So,
Next Monday, Tuesday, I won't be here, just so you're aware.
okay.
Next Monday and Tuesday? I have to plan ahead.
Okay, thank you.
How about you, Dennis? You'll be here next Monday, Tuesday? Unless I'm not here?
No, I'm in for the long haul. Well,
Yeah, that's
maybe
not
the long haul.
true. What did you say last week? 121 days or something you threw out?
Whoever's counting out.
Thanks, Gina.
Actually,
Roads on here, but I don't see them, so I don't know if there was,
should we have a clock in the clerk's office? Of the day clock?
yeah. Yeah, a countdown.
Yeah. Dennis, we haven't seen you at the LCC debates in the for the two commissioner seats. Did you view them after the fact?
No,
No? Let the chips fall where they may?
the chips fall where they may.
He's weaning himself off of this stuff. Which is a good idea.
And
So did you guys want to think about, did you want to do a table again?
I,
I don't even know. Does Kelly know how much it? Yeah, why don't you ask her? Yeah. This is 8 seats. I think was. Yeah.
Dennis, while we have a pause, what, can you give us an update, or would you be willing to give us an update on what's going on with the Mount St. Helens Institute?
um, they're in sort of a mixed use status right now. The Institute is offering very limited outdoor school activities there. And, but they're also sharing the space with the Forest Service because Johnston Ridge is still going to be shut down. So this still so they're using the building for both, you know, tourism as well as the outdoor schools.
We'll see that on,
Is it tomorrow we're
And
up
then,
there?
and then tomorrow is that workshop with the legislators up there. Because ultimately the Institute wants to get the funding to upgrade it so that they can offer full week camps. And there has been considerable interest, particularly from the Vancouver area schools, for
Yeah.
whom the trip up to CISPAS is kind of cost prohibitive. And
Yeah.
because CISPAS is too far away.
because, yeah, it is too far. And it's also very crowded. It's hard to get into. I mean, scheduling is a little bit difficult. So this is an opportunity. They also are able to attract school districts from the greater Portland area as well. And their state actually pays for outdoor education. So that's another probably even more secure funding once they get the building or facility upgraded to handle overnight stays.
When we were there last year, it was first time for me at that facility, and
Okay.
that was pretty interesting. They bring in the yurts, or they're year long. They were going to expand a number of yurts, right?
They were going to build, they have plans to build cabins
That's what it
around that
was, yeah.
parking lot. Yeah, because the existing facility doesn't have the capacity for showers.
It's not built for that.
No, it isn't built for that. So, so with the cabins, that will be available during the school years, you know, for the outdoor school. And then it'll be available for family groups, people adults who attend the Institute's adult education program,
Yeah.
which they don't do too much of right now because they don't have the overnight stays. But it is, the plan is once upgraded, then that facility can be the overnight facility in the Mount St. Helens area. There currently is no overnight facility. You have to go down to Mark Smith's Eco Park,
Hmm,
and that's still a bit of a journey away, so.
yeah.
um, Yeah, so that's the latest that I've heard. And we'll hear a little bit more about it when we get to tomorrow, I think, too.
Okay.
Hear their latest plan. Now, wrong one, sorry.
At least you're not trying to use your shoe.
Yeah. Uh,
So-
The annual luncheon is $450 for a table. And there's 8 people at the table. Last year it was 3 of us. Our staff, I think Tracy went, and I don't know if we have other department heads. Come.
I'm good with whatever you want on that.
I'm okay with, that sounds good.
So something like the Mount St. Helens Institute.
I wanted, when I was interrupted with the phones ringing, we earlier talked with Ray Yakowitz. He's left the program.
Oh, he
Okay.
did?
No longer with the program.
Really?
No, Alyssa Hoyt, I'm not sure if you had a chance to meet her.
I
but
think she
she's-
was new the last time.
She was, yeah, she's been pretty new.
Okay,
So, and I haven't heard why Ray left. That's.
I got you.
So
So if I ask who the champion is, it would be Alyssa Hoyt then?
Alyssa Hoyt, yes.
And then typically, I mean, this sounds like a pretty useful thing to do just to, it's got a lot of positive aspects, but in time, things degrade if we don't have a proper management. Who manages like all these activities?
So the Mount St. Helens Institute is a separately organized, separate organization. They have a board of directors primarily of folks from Clark County. And they're the ones that oversee the operations. It's all done in collaboration with the Forest Service because the Forest Service owns the building. They're leasing it. Okay. So the Forest Service is going to be involved as well. I would imagine once they establish the formal week-long outdoor school, then the superintendent of public schools will have some kind of oversight in terms of the process and the program, because all the school districts will be.
What I'm really angling at too is the schools, despite their protestations to the contrary, have, my opinion, they have a lot of money. And the programs I've seen where people come into an auditorium and give a talk to the kids, the right people can just enthrall kids. It's worth the money. And this, I think it would be worth the money. So I would think funding should come from the Department of Education.
Right. Yeah. It's an example of a private institution which has a lot more flexibility in their operation,
Yeah.
providing an important service, rather than the government creating another bureaucracy, which,
Yeah.
50% of the funds go to staff or more, so.
That's kind of why I was asking, yeah.
So- I have, I participated in the Yellowstone Institute. It's been years ago, but they had a program set up for families
Up in Yellowstone?
at Yellowstone, right? And that was absolutely fascinating. And then we're at Glacier National Park every year, and there's a Glacier Institute as well. So this has begun to be adopted at many government features across the country. These institutes that carry on this educational program, because national government isn't in charge of education.
Yeah.
So it's the right kind of combination of that private-public partnership that I think we should be always encouraging.
Had a little excitement at Yellowstone this year, didn't they, with one of the geysers or something getting a little rambunctious, taken out? I mean, that is a active volcano.
It is, yes. Yep.
I told you I was in New Zealand and I toured a hot springs. There's 100 yards from a geyser is this 4-story hotel.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I'm thinking,
Yeah,
no, it's not a Old Faithful size, but there's in the mud pools, it's bubbling, you can tell, and
yeah.
it's hot. And then every now and then you get a,
Well,
I guess whatever you get used to, huh?
if Yellowstone ever goes, half the RVs in the country will be gone.
I think maybe the,
They're all,
Yeah.
they all litter
maybe the
place.
world will go.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting. There was a big controversy about 10 years ago about the reintroduction of wolves.
Okay,
In
so
the
we
Yellowstone.
won't have anything till 10. Okay,
And the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone was very controversial. They did it, and within a year, the rivers became much more attractive and clean flowing. You say, well, what do wolves have to do with it? Well, the wolves kept down the elk herds, and the elk, being overpopulated, nibbled away all the brush and the branches and the trees
yeah.
next to the rivers, and the pollution didn't have a chance to get filtered out. And they said, very interesting, we hadn't realized that the water quality would improve when the wolves came back in.
Well,
The ranchers
wolves-
just outside the park are still angry because they still go after the easier to catch livestock game, but
Well, the wolves will curtail the population. I saw a deal in Idaho and I'd have to look in and make sure it's accurate data, but before the introduction of wolves they estimated about 32,000 elk and now they're down to about 1,600, they say.
I saw that, yeah.
I don't know the numbers behind it, so
It seems a
take it at
bit
face
too
value.
dramatic, but
it feels a bit strong, but
yeah.
well, and that will make them more difficult to hunt because you've got the strongest, the most intelligent animals that are surviving. The wolf could kill. So,
I find it a difficult decision. Everything we do has unintended ramifications. And then human nature, the term is reverting to the mean. So like as we struggle to curtail the wandering of the tootle and the cowlets, and even the
when you
Kalama.
say returning to the mean, you're referring to numbers rather than feelings.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or just the human nature includes the live stuff and the dead stuff, the topography and we try very hard to control things sometimes and it's always, I always wonder, like specific here, Mount St. Helens blew. There was nothing we could have done to prevent the blowing. Now that it's blown, there are side effects from there. How hard should we struggle to protect the banks of what used to be the cowlets or used to be the Tootle? And then Spirit Lake and all that. And I don't know the answer to that. We put a lot of effort to freeze things like we like them. But Mother Nature is
she's pretty powerful foe. She
yeah,
kind of does what she's going to do.
yeah.
Well, I think the construction of the levees in Longview and Kelso is where you start. Without those levees, you don't have very good flood protection. And there are some businesses around Kelso that have pictures of the 1933 flood,
Yeah.
which was the last one. I think that was before the levees were built in Kelso. And it was massive flooding.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of Kelso, you probably don't have Lexington.
Well,
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
was
wouldn't
thinking,
have Lexington and we wouldn't have most of Longview.
Yeah,
Most of Longview is downhill from here, right?
yeah.
Literally, and
I was thinking of New Orleans.
yeah,
Where they're built below sea level.
right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then.
So the
the-
elevation of the streets around Lake Sacagawea from what I understand, is about 17 feet. And it goes down from there, the farther out you get, until it gets out to about 3 and 4. That's one of the reasons you have to have those dikes, because we know every spring when the rains come, the rivers fill up. And back in the pioneer days, before Longview was built up at all, at the spring tides, that's what they call them, the steamships would take a shortcut between Mount Solo and Columbia Heights to get down the Columbia River. So there was a lot of water flowing out this way.
Yeah.
And then we got Holland.
So the remarkable thing is, if properly maintained, the dikes they've lasted for 100 years, which is only a blink in geological history, but in
But it's
terms
still
of its
darn
impact
good.
here, it's like the story of humans is the story of adapting and adjusting. And we can do that. We've
Yeah.
got the technology to do that.
So speaking of the flooding risk today versus 100 years ago, tie that with your thinking about the dams.
So for us on the Cowlitz River, the critical elements from there's two rivers that affect us. The huge hydroelectric dams on the Columbia River are all part of the effort to control floods, which they've done a pretty good job of. Then we have the two dams in Lewis County that control the Cowlitz. And they have to intentionally set the reservoirs to adjust to the weather and the rainfall.
Or expected
So-
weather.
So what they don't want to be in is a situation where they haven't lowered the reservoirs for the rainy season. And then that's when there's too much water that comes down.
Yeah.
And you have places like Cowlitz Garden that still to this day doesn't have levees for protection. And when that happens, they do get the floodwaters.
True.
It's a huge caveat if the levees are operated and maintained all the time.
They were, yeah.
Last time there was flooding inside the city of Longview, it turns out that the Diking District had failed to inspect the culverts, and somebody had thrown a mattress into the dike because you dump stuff in, they used to dump all kinds of stuff. And it literally plugged one of the dikes, and
Yeah.
everything above that plug got flooded.
Yeah.
1977. So the record is pretty good. The diking staff got fired, and it was pretty embarrassing. But we had, and around that same time, there was a problem with a pump. I think it was a pump failure out in Lexington, and they had the problems with the flooding then too. I mean, the main body of water draining Lexington is called McCorkle Creek, and it comes off of Columbia Heights near the intersection of Columbia Heights Road and Lone Oak Road. And so it drains a tremendous area. And it is lower than the Columbia River or the Cowlitz River most of the year. So those pumps have to be maintained.
When Mount St. Helens blew, I would have expected, well, regardless, but after the blowing of the top, what impacts did the dams feel on the Cowlitz? See, I'm thinking
The
of
dams
dams,
dams did not get affected.
they don't build up more silt?
think it
Well,
may
there are no dams between Mount St. Helens and the ocean.
Okay, all right, so it's
So
above them.
So
yeah.
that didn't have any impact. We the Columbia River shipping channel did get stopped because the sediment did fill up the shipping channel. And there was a short period of time in ships did not get to Portland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was filled in. I mean, right in the immediate aftermath. And so they knew they had to dredge there, and that was when they started dredging there, and they started dredging up the Cowlitz River. They dredged up to where the LTs are, which is where that material all came from. And that, of course, is very, very expensive because you have to figure out where to store it. Where's the property? And they're not making more property. So we've got most of the spots filled in. And so the Corps said, we'll keep as much of it up above with this huge dam. And they estimated we'd need to build a 30-story dam. And
Again, going back to the issue, what is it we should be preserving?
Yeah.
The question back on the dam is the dams are places where the silt actually builds up unless they intentionally keep it flushed, I guess. Do you know whether they do routine flushes and stuff like that? With that intent?
I don't know for sure. The sediment is going to be the material that sinks down. The intake for the dams are usually higher up because it's that gravity is what gives the power to turn the generators. So the dams, but I'm no expert on that. So I'm
No,
only
I think the maximum power is at the
at the
base
base.
of the dam, so I would think the outfall from the dam is down low.
I do know that virtually all of the dams on the southern part of the Cowlitz or the Columbia Rivers all have shipping channels. So they have locks. So
Yeah.
you can have barges and you see the advertisements on TV about the cruise ships. They go
Yeah.
from Lewiston out to Astoria.
Oh, we got Public Works here.
Well, they don't have anything on roads where we have at 10 o'clock, so you're here for 10. Yeah.
Oh, well, if you have something to present to us.
On the roads?
Okay, sounds good.
You know, this reminds me of times I've tuned into C-SPAN. They focus on the speaker. And then eventually they pan to the empty room and then they focus on the speaker.
So Susan Eugenis, Public Works. Sorry about the confusion. We thought we were not presenting roads today, so I don't have anything prepared, and that's why I apologize for not being here. I can give you an update on where we are with 2024 construction. So unfortunately, and as per our normal, not everything went out this year. We did complete 2 older projects quickly. The Kalama River Road Culvert Project and the Slide Creek realignment, both of those. One was completed in 5 days and the other, I believe, was a grand total of 9 days. So we were very pleased with both of those projects. They got in and out. Eric Creek Culvert, so that's on Abernathy Creek Road. That is still underway. The pipe arches were delivered last week, I believe. So they're finishing up the foundation and putting the channel in because so we have a concrete foundation and then we have a pipe arch over top. So the pipe arch did arrive finally, and they're getting that set up to connect, and then they'll finish up the construction, get the road back going and the creek back flowing.
Now, again, that was a situation where the culvert that went under Coal Creek Road had like a 6 to 10 foot drop because of erosion and undercutting.
Yes, there was a substantial drop downstream, and it's a fairly steep. So the reconstructed culvert, we reconstruct the channels when we do this. So there's some work upstream and downstream of the channel to give a consistent run through the stream, and it's simulated based on what the slopes are upstream and downstream of that.
How do you do that? You bring in fill?
Yes, you bring in stream channel material, simulated stream channel. So when we're doing the design, they go out and they take, and I can't remember the name of the samples where they go up and they take grab samples of various locations upstream and downstream of the culvert. And they do a gradation of that. So once they do that gradation, you need 25% of boulder or rocks from this side to this size and on down. And then you spray some sand in to help cement it all in place. And they are generally rounded rock, not
You
what
say
the riprap.
cemented, you don't mean cement.
Not cement, but kind of
Yeah.
hold it in place. It's not true cement. It's just a binder.
But it's a natural binder.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
sand binder.
Yeah.
So that's how we do that, and they simulate the stream. Some places, depending on how far you go upstream and downstream. So when we did the Delameter Road project, we actually, the creek came down and ran parallel to the road for a ways. So we pulled that away from the road so it wasn't running parallel, and we added some sinuosity to the channel, simulating what it was in other locations before we sent it under the road. So there's all kinds of computer programs, and then you do stream bed simulation and put in some trees to hold the banks.
Harkening back to the earlier conversation and flood preparedness, when you're down in the LA area and you drive over the LA River, I remember thinking some strange things when I came from the East Coast, driving through Joshua Tree National Forest. I don't see any trees. And then, and then you were in LA, no, the river, yeah, you're looking and it's a huge, I don't know, maybe it's at least probably 100 yards wide and maybe 20 yards tall walls. And in the middle is a little channel and there's a little trickle of water going through the middle. The
Mhm.
capacity of that thing is enormous.
But when the rain happens,
Cubs.
it fills. Yeah, it's pretty.
I have never seen it
in
filled,
years
though,
in.
but that's,
course,
anyhow.
There was a tremendous amount of building and construction in the 30s, part of the public works projects and putting people back to work.
In
And-
SoCal?
And well,
Here,
throughout the
too.
country, actually, but in Southern California. And one of the big ones was building Boulder Dam, now called Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
And it turns out that they sized it wrong because the engineers had studied the rainfall. And it turns out that over time, that was the exception, exceptionally high year. So they,
Which is why they always tell you that your rainfall, like the FEMA FIRB maps, the 100-year, that changes every year because we get a little more data. And then, so it's a simulation. And so it varies every year, which is why the 96 flood started off as 112. No, it's and they've changed it based on the data that they collect. It's very interesting. Stream simulation is a science that's an art because.
Well, art, science, and scam.
So it's it's actually interesting and the evolution. So when I started doing it in the 90s, we were still on an old Fortran program where you had to get it just right so all your side slopes and your bottom points. And if you got anything wrong, the whole thing blew up and it took all day to run. Now they do the same thing with AutoCAD drawings and they just pull it in and they can run in a day what would have taken me 2 months to do. It just changing little variables. It's amazing how much that has changed, but it's still, if you don't put good information in, you'll get bad information out. And it's also, you still need people who understand how the program works because they will recognize weird oddities as they come out.
That reminds me, you're familiar with FFTs?
I'm part
FFTs,
FFTs.
fast. That's why I call them FFTs.
fast flux.
Fast Fourier transforms.
Mm.
Just about everything you ever touch in modern day has some fundamentals of transforms. And they're like eigenvectors and eigenvalues, and they were very computationally heavy until the guy figured out how to do it with some very strange scheme. How he figured it out, I think, required help from upstairs. And it took the computational load down from being n squared, number of points,
Mhm.
to n log base 2 of n.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah, it was engineering talk here for fun. You know Fourier because he did a lot of work on heat transfer.
and there's all kinds of weird series he created and yeah.
Heat transfer is pretty important in engineering.
Yes, my husband reminds me of it frequently because he's a mechanical engineer and it's way more important for him than for a civil engineer.
Yeah, except on a hot day.
Yes, when our asphalt starts to buckle
Yes.
or it freezes and that does other bad things.
So if we drove all the way out to Eric Creek,
Yes.
what would we be seeing right now? Is the road still intact or?
So currently there's a bypass road. So you'll get out there and you'll swing around and you'll see this big gaping hole, for lack of a better term, with foundation poured and they're putting channels in. I think they put the stream channel material in while they were waiting for the culvert because it's easier to do it when it's empty. The creek is currently bypassed, so it goes through a pipe, so you don't see the creek right now because it's in a pipe. As soon as they get the culvert top back on and enough material on it, they will release the creek, hopefully before we get too much rain. So that is what you'd see right now. We're anticipating by sometime in November, the road being back where it's supposed to be and hopefully getting asphalt on it before the plant closes for the winter.
Are we gonna be dry enough into November?
Well, once you get the channel itself back open, it's more of a
The pressure
tidying
off,
up work
yeah.
and, building the section back up. And there's guardrail that needs to go out. So the complete project, once you get out of the creek is, can be done in a little wetter of weather. So we should be seeing coming up, we're working on the final specs for South Cloverdale. We'll send those off. So we should be going out to bid.
I think we have something tomorrow on that, on the consent agenda.
Yes, that's just some federal paperwork that we're pushing through on the consent tomorrow. So we're working on a couple jobs that'll be coming through early. That one to get good bids and then guardrail for, because that's good winter work because they're off of their summer construction and it doesn't need to be dry to put guardrail in. So we're looking at getting those out. And sediment retention structure, it does have a outfall at the top because it's made to hold sediment and
Right.
at some point it's
Right.
a stream run dam. There's no lower outfall on that one.
It's not a generating.
No, it's not a
Right.
generator, so it was meant to hold the water back.
Many years ago now, many is not that many by my life standard. Maybe 10 years ago, there was a gentleman that was trying to push the concept of putting generators inside the supports for bridges. Right now they
Oh.
build something and he pressed it hard enough that he got attention at the federal level, I think. Do you have any information on that?
I do not. I don't have any
So,
information on
the
that.
river has to go around
The
the
piers,
support.
yeah.
He says, why don't you put a generator inside there? And I don't know that we have to make that very complicated, but and still make it pay off.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Interesting
information about
concept.
that.
But anything that impedes the flow of the river will seek.
It'll cause, yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Ways around.
an unimpeded route. So without the drop in gravity, you don't have the force to get the river to behave the way you want it to. And that's what I think where the concept sounds good, but the practicality, I think, falls apart because there's such, even though it seems like it's very minor resistance, it undercuts the feasibility of making much predictable
With
power.
to put the generator in there?
Yeah.
I'd have to look at that more closely. It doesn't strike me as, I'd be, you're not going to get power out of there to generate for a city or something like that. So I would think that it would be useful for, like the bridge needs the lighting at night, say. You just generate your own lighting through there. That eliminates a whole complication of how do you get onto the grid? I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
it hasn't
The
gone
con- the
anyplace, which
concept
means
is-
it's not,
The concept seems simple enough,
yeah.
but then you have to ask, well, then why hasn't it been done
Right.
from day one? I mean,
Mhm.
if it could work out, because utilities are powerful, but they're not that, they're not that powerful. We should all have generators if you have a stream, and it isn't. In fact, those areas where they used to connect streams to factories, water wheels, those went out because they just couldn't generate enough to sustain the operation. But I don't know.
I know if I had a stream and I could legally do so, I'd be tapping it. In terms of tapping stream too, the amount of energy that we lose when the Columbia empties into the Pacific is enormous.
Mhm.
Did you ever hear about the Red Sea? You dam it up and there's enough evaporation in the Red Sea area that you could get quite ahead there, and you'd have in 10 years or 5 years, you get enough of a head to generate a monstrous amount of electricity, and it would be, barring the real world, it would be essentially unlimited in lifetime. Of course, the Red Sea would no longer be habitable, but that's. Hey, oceanographers
As if-
have
as
tons
if-
of ideas.
As if we don't have enough problems in the Middle East anyway. You have to take away the Red Sea. Oh, gosh. So those are the big three?
Big three, we're finishing up striping, finish up overlay, which I'll talk about in a little bit. For this summer, yes. Unfortunately, South Cloverdale didn't get off as early as we thought, nor did Dyke Road. So,
How's it looking for hiring engineers? Still bad?
still bad, unfortunately.
How many resumes do you have on your desk now?
Well, I have one that's a resident of India, and I have of India, yes. And then I have another who we set up an interview with, and he called the day of the interview and had already obtained another.
I didn't understand a word you said.
So the second application we had, we called the day we got the application. We set up an interview for the next week. And the day of the interview, he called and declined because he already had another offer. Those were all June, July, and I have not received anything since.
We have those. Don't we have a couple contracts with firms that help us out?
Yes,
Do they help in these type of situation, or are they more specific to project?
those were specifically for development review. We're tossing around another couple ideas that we might be bringing forward to you that we've done for other positions. The surveyor most recently, and the other cities do and counties do it where they contract with a company and one of their engineers becomes your engineer for a day or two a week. We're tossing that around as a possibility.
Since we can't get
Since-
applications. in
Yeah,
yet.
so we're really
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
So that is a possibility we might pursue.
That sounds good.
So
Is there a camaraderie between public works of the county and the other municipal public works?
they are also busy also. They don't have capacity to,
No, but when they come up with ideas, do you guys meet and just say, we found this thing and we'd like to know what you think about it?
so I meet on occasion with the cities for different things. I'm also a member of the State Association of County Engineers. I'm on their board, and then we have a couple meetings a year. We always have 2 West Side meetings. There are frequent email series where we'll send out, hey, I'm really struggling. One of the most recent one was with a franchisee that did not want to move. And so a bunch of us were spitballing ideas on how to get them move or how others have successfully gotten them to move when a project is coming.
The chairman has a solution to those, to stick a dynamite. It solves a
Yes.
lot of problems.
Well, I was told when it was a telecom, that is a very bad thing because that's a federal problem. Now, if it was
Oh.
not a telecom, as long as I didn't blow a big hole in the road because it was gas, I'd probably be okay. So those are, yes, we do talk to other jurisdictions. You look at other jurisdictions, I've been looking at other counties. Most of them have 1, if not more, engineering positions open. Counties, cities throughout the whole area have everything from county engineers to fresh out of school engineers, senior transportation engineers, water sewer engineers. And then you talk to the consultants and they also have a hard time keeping their positions filled. So it's a career-wide issue. We also have a lot of people that are approaching retirement, not just in our office, but across the industry.
The thing with engineering is, it's difficult to make up for all that lost expertise. You can be
Yes.
fresh out of school and understand a lot of things like a fast 48 transform, but it doesn't mean that you know how to build a road.
That is very, very true. You don't know how much you don't know when you come out of college. I mean, it's the difference between someone who's been working 4 years and somebody who's been working 30 years is immense. Even somebody working 20 years versus the 4 years, the difference is immense. This 4-year person can get there, but it takes a while because you see more and more as you're doing it and get to know other people and who to ask the questions to. So
It's actually a very nice synergistic thing. The fresh person out of school has up-to-date info on something that, and you've got the real life experience. It works well. Before we go, I forgot to ask, can you get me the timber employment per county for our state?
The map that we sent out.
When was
The
that sent
map
out?
of the counties, that had all the different counties and how much.
No, the number of employees.
Yes, that
Oh.
came from Wasack.
Oh, did you send it out?
Yeah, I sent that out.
When?
Maybe a month ago. Has it been
Oh.
that long ago? I can redo it. It was
You
for the
wouldn't
Timber
mind? I'd like
Caucus,
to-
the
yeah.
Timber County Caucus. Yeah, we presented that to, I presented that to the Cal Economic Development Council last week, so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we're 10.
Thank
You want to
you.
just head into agenda items since you're already at the table? We'll just.
sure, I'll be happy to go first. Let's see, what do we have? So item number 2 is a consent agenda item, which is the updated perspective and local agency agreement. We signed that, I don't know, about a month ago. WashDOT came back with, oh, there's a mistake. We had them review it before we had you sign it the first time. They found something that they wanted us to change. We had it changed. We brought it to a Wednesday because of the timeline. Commissioner Dahl signed it, and this is just documenting the real updated. Just for other information on that, that project has made it through the state, made it up to federal highways, and we have obligated our construction funding. So we made the deadline of September 30, so that is good news that we'll get the specs done and get that out to bid. So that's good news on that.
And I was noticing that local match ended up being less than 10% of the overall project.
Yes, because of the way we had multiple funding sources.
And the change was not in our favor. It was, but it wasn't real
It-
significant. It was about, am I remember right, about 23,000?
Yeah, it was in the $20,000 to $23,000 range in their favor, but it was a minor.
This kind of funding package required a certain amount of creativity on your part and knowing who to submit to and being, do they cover that in coursework in universities?
No,
How to get stuff funded?
no, they do
That's one of
not.
those things you learn on the fly,
Yes.
basically.
They learn on the fly. We learn that on the fly, and like this particular project, we have CRAB, we have STP. The Cold Creek project, which we have coming up, we have STP already obligated. We've applied for CRAB money, so we're getting that project, so it's a reasonable local match and we can do a decent corridor. Otherwise, we have to really chunk them up. Currently this week, today, we have a grant due for aquatic organism passage where we're applying for two. That's what the federal government calls it. It's not fish passage, it's aquatic organism passage. So we're applying for that grant for two culverts out on Hazeldale Road. So that's due this week. We're doing our notice of intent to apply for BRIC funding, which is through FEMA, Building Resilient Infrastructure. Oh, I forgot what the C stands for in that program. So we're applying for trying to get some money for Tootle Park Road, moving that over to Burma. So we're doing that application. And then there's a flood, which is also a FEMA project that we're applying. We'll see how far we get on this to do the initial study, a big alternatives analysis to do something with Westover and Lomar. Because that has been a lingering problem, but it cost a lot of money to figure out what way you're going to go. And then we'll start working on funding what that solution comes up. So this week, Public Works is a busy grant week because everything seems to be due this week. So we're constantly working on grants to keep these funding projects and projects moving along.
So during my time working with the board of directors at WASAC, we are always reviewing applications from commission members for various boards and commissions, state boards and commissions. And I've shared some of the ones that I've been working on. But CRAB also has an opening for engineers and as well as county commissioners. Is it to our advantage to participate at that level?
Probably. I am currently on the county engineers board. I am the president-elect, so from June of 25 through June of 26, I will be the president of the county engineers board through WASAC. I know that the Snohomish County engineer, who is the current president, he's on the CRAB board and has been for a while. I don't remember what size position is open on the CRAB board. Because I know and sometimes it's east side versus west side.
Right.
And I don't remember which one is currently open. So it is, it's advantageous just to be on the boards and get those contacts within CRAB. I know one of the big things that CRAB is going to be pushing this legislative session is a new program that they're hoping that we can get some money directed to the counties for our local streets. because right now the CRAB money can only go to arterials and collectors. So they want to start a similar program for local streets. And they've got a call out right now, and I need to get my information together of, they're calling it Miss Dungeness for pictures of roads that this is why and they need it. And one of the ones I'm working on is getting them information about Young Road, which has had all that development pressure. And the county now needs to upgrade this road, but we don't have a funding mechanism. And so that they're looking to try and field that for a lot of counties because they have development pressure on roads or ones that they have not been able to upgrade moving forward. So that is one of the things CRAB is working on also, which they have heard from a lot of the counties. This program's great, but we also need to be able to, because a few years ago, they started allowing what they call off-system bridges to apply for their funding. So off-system bridges means something not on an arterial or collector. And we have a lot of local bridges that are off-system. And that was way more than agenda review. Okay, so what else do we have on there? So we have on the motion, we have two motion items. We have change order number 1 with Lakeside Industries for the overlay project. This is the addition, and we had talked about it when it happened this summer when we got really hot. Little Klamath River Road, the pavement started rolling up on the tires. We discussed with you a couple methods of how we wanted to repair that. So this is the change order for Lakeside to go out and grind the one lane where the damages has occurred and then inlay hot asphalt on that. It's at $101,000 using their bid item, their unit price bid items was the agreement. So that is the change order number 1 for Lakeside. And the other item is the bid award to Northwest Linings and Geotextile Products for the scrim reinforced polyethylene geomembranes for $118,300. We received 2 bids and they were within $2,000 of each other. The successful bidder was the bidder that has been successful in the past. And these prices are very similar to what we were paying last year. We did not see an increase. So we were very pleased with the bids we received.
You knew we were going to have to do something with Klamath River. You brought that to our attention.
Yes.
We just didn't know the dollar amount at the time.
No, we did not. We had an estimate when we talked about it before, and this is we pulled up all the quantities, and this is what we're estimating. So we suspended them during the I-5 work because all they had left was Green Mountain Road and this change order. So they were suspended. They've worked us back into the schedule. So we're anticipating them being out at work the first week of October.
Speaking of Green Mountain, I bet those people are very happy the bridge work is done.
Yes. So, and then we'll just disrupt them for about a day and a half to do the overlays in that area up there.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Susan. Building and planning. Looks like you just got the public hearing tomorrow. Yeah,
Yep, good morning. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning Department. And with me today is Adam, and he is our new planning manager. So he will be presenting to you the comp plan amendment tomorrow. And that's just the comp plan amendment, 108 acres, excuse me, between Walker and Carroll's Road area. It's old, unused surface mine. We can use it for home development.
Are they going to be incorporating the remnants of the pit as part of their design features for developing that neighborhood? Or have they gotten that far along in the process?
Thank you. Again, Adam Trimble, Building Planning. And the property is going to be family owned, so they're just intending to use it for the family at this point.
Oh, really?
And
Oh.
developing two two residences on areas that have not been mined previously. So there's some small areas up above that weren't touched, and they don't have plans for the remaining areas except for use by the family.
I just have this vision of a version of Butcher Gardens. If they keep it as you described, then it becomes a hobby for those folks, and who knows what they come up with.
Yeah, time will tell. They will be planting trees in the area as part of the reclamation, so it'll eventually look a bit more forested.
So after this is approved, are they bound to keep it in the family like you mentioned? There's no binding of any kind there, right?
No,
So what would they be able to do in the extreme? Would they be able to do, is it 2.5 acre or 5 acre?
they have requested the 5-acre forestry recreation zoning, so
Okay. So I guess I'm saying I take a look at the statement that they're wanting to keep it in the family as a bit of a noise thing. It has no real meaning to me okay, so. Have you gotten pushback?
no, we've heard from one person during the public hearing. There was a question about whether groundwater could be contaminated if it was developed. So the response was that any construction on previously disturbed soils does require some study to prove that it can be done safely. And so at least for the applicant's part, they're telling us they have an existing well that will serve the proposed two residences, so no new wells are proposed.
Again, that's irrelevant as you go forward, right?
So they can actually go ahead and develop 21 homes based on the 5-acre per, they could, without any further review in
From the
terms of planning. I mean, obviously the building codes have to be met and all that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it. I'll see you at
Okay.
11, I guess.
And Adam, congratulations.
I see facilities maintenance on here, but maybe not. No? Yeah, okay. And I see HR. I think we kind of talked about maintenance last week when Mike was in, didn't we?
Mhm.
Maybe, okay.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. On the consent agenda, I have the annual renewal for the Left One retiree Medicare plan through Humana. This renewal is higher than it has been in years, but that's due to how Medicare has revamped the way that they pay health plans relative to prescription drugs, shifting the cost of prescription drugs to the health plan. So the renewal goes from $311.30 per member per month to $461.33 per member per month, which is a renewal of 48.2%. However, this is still much less than we were paying previously from shifting to Humana. And this is likely like a one-time shift of this amount, and then we should see it stabilize in future years.
So I am a little bit confused. I have read an awful lot of boasting by the administration that they have figured out a way to negotiate lower prices for prescription drugs for Medicare. But you're just saying the cost for achieving that has gone up. Not a question, just kind of a snide comment.
Just a well-placed
I don't
statement.
quite
Yeah,
understand that.
well-placed statement.
How lowering prices raises the costs.
Yeah. Amazing how that works.
Repeat after me. 2 + 2 is 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly how many people do we cover under this?
About 14
About
to
15.
16. Yeah.
Okay.
And of those folks, we do have to cover nursing home care when they go into nursing home care. How many are at that point? Do you?
I do not know. Katrina in the sheriff's office manages the Humana plans, so she would have more information on that. I'm not sure if she's online or not.
And
We did not have a lot on home care or
right, and they've all gotten older.
correct. So I think your point is,
Do we have enough
soon.
money saved up to still, or,
we were underfunded.
right?
I do know that we continue to pay less through the Humana plans and how it was structured prior. And I know that that will still be the case, but yes, I mean, we cover all expenses for the left one retirees.
Kathy, do you remember offhand how much is in the reserve fund for that?
This is Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. I don't have the exact number, but I know it's over $1 million that we have in reserve, in
Good,
fund
okay.
balance for that, for the benefits administration.
Yeah, we were looking at, call it just 10 people to make it easy to compute, 10 people at 100,000 a year for the obligation. There goes your million
Goes by
right
very
there.
fast
Yeah,
once
very
they're all
fast.
on it.
And then it goes on to the next year.
We have, I think we budget annually to transfer 300,000 to that account. And then in addition to that, it has a little over $1 million fund balance.
A huge obligation.
Yeah. Okay,
Any other questions?
don't think so.
Thank you.
I wonder if there's any way we could limit our liability on that by buying the equivalent of stop loss insurance. I don't know why anybody would do that, but what would, by that, I mean, we would cap the amount we know that we would be subject to in the future. Anyhow. If we're concerned, I'm sure the insurance company is going to be concerned too.
I don't think we have any other agenda. Jessica, I know you have an exec session. You want to just take those now? Okay.
Okay, so the first request I have comes from Building and Planning. They are requesting to fill a senior planner position because the previous one just promoted to the planning manager, along with any domino effect.
Okay.
And then the next request I have comes from District Court. They are requesting to reclassify the adult probation officer and the adult probation officer lead to New salary grades, 245 and 255. This is just a 5% increase on top. And they're eliminating the lead position and just making it a level 2 based off of experience and qualifications that the person might come. They still have that open position that they're looking to fill.
We had discussed that some time back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you've negotiated with the union on that.
Correct.
I think we're good with that.
Okay. And those are my only 2 requests. I have 2 items under an executive session for qualifications of an applicant.
Estimated time?
Let's say 20.
Okay. So executive session for qualifications of an applicant, we're looking at 20 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, back from executive session. No decisions were rendered. Turn it over to Jessica.
Jessica Warren, Human Resources again. I have a couple more additional requests. First request comes from the Office of Administrative Services. They are requesting to start their applicant for finance manager at step 6, along with 75 hours of vacation, which is equivalent to 2 weeks.
Okay,
I'm okay with that.
And the next request comes from Human Resources. I'm requesting to move the Deputy Director of Human Resources up 2 steps, which is the equivalent of a 5% increase, effective October 1st
okay.
Of this year.
of this year, yes.
You gotta dot the i's and cross the t's.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
The years go by fast.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're good.
Thank you.
And I know you have another one coming over, but I think we'll just recess till he shows up.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay, back from recess. Jessica?
Ian's back again?
He's gonna be right next door here in a few months.
Yeah.
All right.
Jessica Warren, Human Resources again. I have an additional request for an executive session for qualifications of an applicant.
So. 10 minutes?
Let's do 10, yeah.
Okay. Okay, back from executive session, no decisions were rendered. Any miscellaneous before we adjourn? Okay, we will adjourn for the day. Thank you.